Well, good evening, everybody. How you all doing? Let me turn the music down a little bit here. Every week I try to be more professional, but I'm not. So how are you? Good to see y'all. What do we got here? We got 33 people so far. Well, I made a command decision to move it back an hour. And the reason I did that was it works in better with a lot of the other time zones around the world. It's still a little late for Europe, but as far as Australia and over there, brings it a little later in the morning for them. And on the West Coast, means we're starting at 5 o'clock instead of 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So hopefully it'll be more convenient. We'll do this for a little while, and any feedback you have, let me know. Please let me know. Let me say hello to people. We fooled Swamp Ninja. He got here an hour early. I don't know if he went away, he said, but he'll be back. Richard Lees, how you doing? Good to see you. Andre, good to see you. Richard Williams from Copper Hill, Tennessee. Good evening to you. Linda G, hello. DS111. How are you? Cheryl Edwards, good to see you. William Tanner likes the blues, so does Richard. Julia, Venetian Cat Fine Art, one of the channel members who was, I had the pleasure of meeting on our first channel member live stream last Thursday night. Lovely woman from Las Vegas, New Mexico. And we had a really nice time, and I'm looking forward to doing more of those things, especially as the channel membership grows. 15,100 and climbing. Yes, I don't know where it's coming from, but it is. David Saunier, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. And Victory is here. TS, what is that? Oh, Ghost. That's right. Happy Halloween, everybody. Tony Mars, hi, Mitch. Used my slow cooker method. Oh, good. With a chuck roast. Yeah, I really like those things. About once a month I do it, and that works out good for me. And Richard Lee says that I'm worldwide. Well, I'm not wide anymore, but I guess worldwide is okay. Oh, Swamp Ninja, how you doing? You haven't poisoned anyone except myself for decades. I don't know why I did that today. I normally don't even put out a video on a day that I have a live stream, but that thought was just nagging me all morning. I said to myself, what a travesty that we, believing what we do, getting healthy, eating properly, have to contribute to the ill health and the addiction of children. And yet, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? The whole thing is set up in such a way that you have to play along, or you're the bad guy, even if you're trying to do good. So I don't know. I just thought that I had some other thoughts and put them all together and marched out back in the sun and recorded that thing. And I didn't expect it to do real well, and it isn't. not normally the number of views that I usually get, but that's okay. We have Bags Packed Family. How you doing? How you doing, my friend? Good to see you. And Sandra McDonald, are you in Australia? AU, I guess maybe that means that. Anyway, Sandra's here. Grumpy Old Ben, how you doing? From the Philippines. Oh, wow. Wow, they're everywhere. DS111, never again battle. My teenage daughter eats poisonous, addictive crap every day, and now there's a candy holiday. Yeah. Well, most of these holidays were invented by some business The greeting cards sponsor all kinds of crazy holidays. They come up with one every week or two. Some reason to have a holiday that you have to buy a greeting card for. Keto Pilates Chick. Wow, that's a new one. How you doing? 8 p.m. is good. I'm working at 7 p.m. Although I usually put my get. That's great. Good. Yeah, give me a little feedback on that. Whether you like the 8 o'clock. To me, it doesn't make much difference. I think I prefer 8 o'clock better because I think that it'd be more convenient for most people. And the extra hour, one way or the other, doesn't matter to me. Richard Lee's, they'll rename the web as WW Mitch. Not likely. Not likely. Sander, roast leg of lamb yesterday, cold cuts for today. There you go. Bristol, Virginia, Steve. Grizel, how are you? And Jonathan, bags packed family. Sander, yep, Australia. Okay, wow. See, that never fails to blow my mind. Sitting here talking to somebody halfway around the earth. I've already told the story of when I was in the Army back in the 1960s, what I had to actually go through to get a phone call every few months home to my parents. It was nuts. And here we are. Here we are. Paulette Hasty, good evening from North Carolina. Rocket likes 8 p.m. Rocket got his Dubai carbon steel pan today. He was kind of taken back with the weight and heft of that thing. And that's what makes it work. It's, in my opinion, every bit as good or better than a cast iron because it's not rough. It's smooth, which makes it much easier to clean and season. And yet it has enough heft to it, enough metal in there to grab onto that heat and hold it and heat very evenly and heat quickly. So keep me informed. Let me know how you like it. And he said something in his comment on the video about it that is what anybody that buys one of these things realizes the minute they get their hands on it. And that is that if you can envision 50 years from now, you can imagine your grandchildren inheriting this frying pan. They are that substantial, and they should last forever. So it's a good investment, and I hope you like it. And let me know if you're having a problem getting it seasoned properly. It takes a little while, and after you cook it a few times, it gets there. Mine is to the point where I don't even ever wash it out or scrub it out. I just take some paper towels and I wipe it out and wipe out as much grease as the paper towels will get out, and I just leave it. And that grease just keeps it from, keeps it protected, and it's the seasoning. Kate, happy Halloween, Mitch. Not many trick-or-treaters out there. Well, it's not cold down here. It's still probably close to 80 degrees outside. Oh, Ben is over there too, 8 a.m. for him. Good deal. Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but the West Coast is 3 hours behind you, like our West Coast is here, if I'm not mistaken. So if I go over to say, I think it's Perth, is that that'd be like a 15-hour difference from me to there. But I think that's how it is. Sandra likes the Damascus Japanese knife. I've had that knife. I don't know if I've ever told you this. Well, listen, I don't have a sidekick tonight, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to keep a real close eye on the chat, which is why I'm doing this, and that's fine because otherwise I start talking and it's a lot easier for me just to interact with you guys, and I think that that makes it a lot more fun, and the time flies quicker for me rather than try to be entertaining. Let's see here. I see a question. Is it okay to use bacon grease for cooking a steak? Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding? Even better if it's still got a little crumbs of bacon in it, because of the flavor. Yeah, I use either butter or I use bacon grease. It's either one of those two. And I usually end up throwing out a big thing of bacon grease every couple of months because I just run out of things to store it in, because the only thing I actually use it for is searing steaks. So I save a lot of it, and I keep saving it. But no, it's perfectly good. I think you'd like it. Butter has a little different flavor to it. Sometimes I like it that way. Sometimes I do it with the bacon grease. So we were talking about my knife. Where was that? I saw that. I want the Damascus knife, Sandra says. Oh, Rocket's already used the pan. Well, that knife, one of the things that I did in my past life was a knife collector. And true to form for me, because I never did anything halfway. I always jumped into everything I did, both feet. I became a relatively large, and I don't mean that in physical sense, collector of art pieces, handmade knives. And then I actually started putting on knife shows for these artisans in Orlando, and people would fly in from all over the world to come to these knife shows. And I had the most famous knife makers in the world would come to these shows I did in Orlando, and I became very close friends with so many of them. I've told you all about my business downfalls. Well, I was forced to sell most of my knives, and I had some very valuable stuff, but I had to sell it all. And I pretty much lived for 6, 7, 8 years on just selling stuff that I had, stuff that I was holding for my retirement, because those things are great investments. They go up in value. They're highly collectible, especially if they're from a certain small group of knife makers who, and if any of you have ever collected knives, you'll know who Robert Lovelace is. And I mean, these are knives today that will bring $100,000 for one knife that just looks like a hunting knife because it's got his name stamped on it. At any rate, I had to sell all that stuff, but I did meet a ton of knife makers, and I had a collection of over 200 knives, and in a lot of the knife shows you'd find these guys, and this guy who made this Damascus knife that I have, that's what he does. He makes chef's knives in Japan, handmade. They sell basically for like $1,000. And with the wooden sheaths, they're all individual and they're all unique. They're made like they make samurai swords. That thing is razor sharp, which is something you have to be cognizant of. You cut your finger off with that thing if you slip. It's crazy sharp, and I've never used it. It's been sitting in a drawer here with what knives I still have left from my collection. And I thought about it. I thought of Shawn Baker, who sits down at the cutting board, and he's got this big Damascus knife, and he cuts his meat like this. And I said, that's cool. Why aren't I doing that? I got some of those knives. So I took that knife out and gave it a whirl. And man, did it cut through that steak. I'll tell you what, the weight of the knife, you didn't even have to push on it. The weight of the knife cut it. But that's the story of the knife, and you're going to see me using that probably in most of the meat cutting things that I do now. You do have to keep those things a light coat of oil on them, because that's carbon steel and it can rust. Okay, so don't panic. Hello, carnivores. The butter burns so easily when I use it. I'll be using the bacon grease. Yeah, has a little higher smoke point. I don't really ever have a problem with the butter burning. I like that little bit of like brown butter flavor in there anyway. But does butter scorch in your new pan? Richard, if you're asking me that, I never had that much of a problem with the butter. Doesn't really burn. And I get that pan up to like 500 degrees, 550. Rocket's making a pot roast in the slow cooker, and I seared the steak. Good for you. Good for you. Don't panic. Question. I can't stomach ground beef, but I'm not rich and want to include it. Should I use seasoning to make it palatable or just avoid it? Well, salt. you could probably use some pepper, and you might be able to use a little garlic. I'm not one of these militant carnivores. We went all through that little discussion when we talked about seasoning the carbon steel pan with grapeseed oil. And a couple of molecules of grapeseed oil are certainly not going to hurt anybody. The only thing I worry about, even if I got a gram or two of carbohydrate or sugar in something, I only worry about a substance that might trigger an addiction in me. If it doesn't trigger an addiction, I don't worry about it. And that's why I don't mind. I went back, after a month of no coffee, I said, why am I depriving myself of coffee? I don't feel any ill effects from it. It doesn't bother me. It certainly doesn't have any calories. This is decaf. I normally don't drink any coffee after like 3 or 4 o'clock, but I got a little raspy thing going on in my throat, and the hot coffee feels good. Contrary to popular belief, we carnivores may be really healthy, but we can still get a little virus or a little bug now and then. Fortunately, it doesn't happen very often, but for the past couple of days, I've had this little phlegm thing going on. So, yeah, as far as seasoning the ground beef, what I would say is, don't put sugar in it. Don't put sauces in it, like barbecue sauces or any of that stuff. But sure, and try to eat it with just salt, because a lot of people have said, and I've noticed this myself too, that the taste of meat and salt, the longer I do this, just gets better and better. And I was using a little garlic salt in some things, and I don't know when I stopped doing it, but I stopped doing it because something in me decided it liked the taste of the meat over everything, and enough salt to taste, because that's our body telling us how much of a substance we need. That's the power of the sense of taste. It's the gauge that your body can adjust by telling you this is fabulous tasting or this tastes terrible, based on what it needs you to have. And that's why the first bite of a piece of steak always just tastes so good, but after you've gotten through a pound of it, you start, doesn't taste as good as it did. Okay, so the chat's starting to run by a little faster here, and I'm going to try to keep up with it. So what do you got here? We got Breck says, smash the like button. Yes, do that, please. Please, I don't know what good it does. I don't generally ask people to subscribe and press the like button. In fact, I never do. I save all my commercial stuff for these live streams where I tell you to get your t-shirts like this one. This is my carnivore t-shirt. There's a link to the merch store in the description and on the website at oldguycarnivore.com, along with all the links to all the stuff. And I appreciate you guys have been using them. And I actually got a few bucks from Amazon, and it really helped. I just bought a new camera to use to make videos for this channel, and it cost $700. So all that helps, and just about all of it goes back into helping me make these things. The website that I have, you've seen that, but I'll show. And I found that doing these live streams, I can't assume that because I said something a month ago, everybody already knows it, or because I put something in a video 3 months ago or 2 months ago, that everybody knows that. What hit me was, with the amount of new subscribers I have to keep in mind when I make videos now, or when I do live streams, that a lot of people that are watching maybe the first time they've ever seen me, or they've only watched one of my videos and really don't know what I'm about yet. So I have to keep every couple of months rehashing some of these old subjects, like how do I do the first 30 days of carnivore? What are your 5 best tips to succeed on the carnivore diet? Then I have to go back into the philosophy and my insights into why I finally succeeded after 76 years on a diet when I was never able to in my whole life. That to me is one of the greatest, not a mystery because I think I've got it figured out, but trying to impart the why of that or the how of that has to be repeated every so often for as a reminder for those that have heard it and for the new people that are just discovering this. And I get a lot of comments from people who say, I just discovered you. YouTube is still pushing a lot of my older videos out there, which really surprises me. So anyway, this is the website, and the page I'm talking about on the website is, well, let me go over to the homepage. I do have a thank you to all my channel members, and these are my channel members as of today. You can support this channel and help support me by pressing that join button that's on your YouTube screen, and it's $3.99 a month. And we're doing a private live stream now every Thursday night where there'll be a link where you can come in and participate, and we talk to each other and ask questions and answer questions and tell our stories and do all that. And we had the first one, I think 8 or 10 people actually showed up. I think I have a screenshot of it here. This is a screenshot of our live stream. And I had Ed and I had Laura and me, and we were on there in a wonderful conversation, and it lasted an hour and 15 minutes, and I'm really looking forward to Thursday night for the next one. So if you want to join the channel, feel free, no obligation, you don't have to. Helps me, and there's a few things that we're going to do for the channel members that won't affect all the rest of the stuff. I'll still be putting out just as many videos, and I'll still be doing these live streams. And I only want people to do this if they think that I'm doing them some good and want to let me know. So that's the channel members. Anybody, there's been quite a few people have bought these T-shirts, and I've asked everybody if they have one of the T-shirts, please send me a picture of it so I can put it here on the homepage of my website, sweatshirts, and the link to the store is up here in the menu of the website too. And then this is a page, because everybody who doesn't know about this asks me, where'd you get this, where'd you get that? I get 5 or 10 comments a week wanting me to, where did you get the sous vide machine? Where'd you get all that? And I have links to everything I use right here on the website. There's the sous vide machine. There's the thing that holds it. There's the Dubai Mineral B. All this stuff is there. So avail yourself of that. They pay me a small commission. It is an affiliate thing. That helps too. Everything helps. I got to eat like you guys do. So that's the website. We have a community forum on the website that few people are using, but some people are using it, and it's a way that you can chat with some of the other members that have. And you don't have to be a channel member to use any of these things. This is just a free forum for people to use and post subjects and talk back and forth about it without having to go on social media and have Google know everything that you do. So that's what I got going on. Let me get back to the chat here. I did have a few things, because I always make some show notes here. I never gave you my disclaimer. I'm not a doctor, guys. I can't give you medical advice. If I was a doctor, I still couldn't give you medical advice. I think we all know that by now. I noticed, I was watching the news today, watching the news this morning, And they actually had a national story that candy prices are up 12% from last Halloween. And they blamed it. This is because they said cocoa. People are eating more dark chocolate, and since dark chocolate has less sugar and more cocoa, and cocoa is much more expensive than sugar, that candy prices are up 12%. And I said right away, why are Skittles up 12%? Why are jelly beans up 12%? Why are all candy prices up 12% just because cocoa went up? And that's indicative of how they work. They have something that they think is going to be hard to sell, and they make up an excuse, and whether that excuse makes any sense or not doesn't matter. They use it anyway because they figure nobody thinks about this stuff. And that's what one of the points I made in my little video today is when you hear anything, ask yourself if that makes sense. And quite often you'll find out that most of the stuff that we hear doesn't make sense, like the fact that they're trying to tell us from Harvard University, from Walter Willett, who is a real sold out, got to be an evil human being, egomaniac, big shot researcher at Harvard, came out with a study saying that red meat increases your chances of becoming a diabetic. In our entire history, as a species, we primarily ate red meat, and nobody got diabetes. All of a sudden, in the last 50 years, red meat made the decision, I think I'm going to start giving diabetes to people who eat me. Is this something that they held a meeting of all the cows, maybe? It doesn't make sense. Anything that you hear like that, and that's all we hear. Tufts University told us a few months ago that Fruit Loops were the healthiest thing that a child can eat for breakfast. And at the bottom of the list was an egg fried in butter. And people get this stuff, and they just march right in line. And it's killing us. And there's nothing we can do about it except look out for ourselves. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here. Randy K. Hey, how you doing, Randy? Let me get back to the chat because I usually don't get to read it all, and I want to do that tonight. So where did I leave off? Don't panic. Okay, DS111. He's been buying the 7327. Yeah, that's great at Aldi's. That's good stuff. I picked up one of those big 10-pound tubes of 80/20 at Sam's, and you can throw a little butter in it if you want to add some more fat, but that stuff's pretty good too. And it's 10 pounds for like $38, so it's less than $4 a pound. In fact, that's what I was doing first thing this morning when I got up. I was repackaging that into 1 pound bags to freeze it so I can take it out 1 pound at a time. Sandra McDonald says that, Amazon, they sell these knives, but they're nothing like the handmade stuff. And one of these days, if I got nothing else to talk about, I'll bring out some photographs of some of these pieces of art that I used to have. And it breaks my heart not to own them anymore, but they don't do you any good in general. They're just stuff. David, question, what do you think of the young writer newspaper reporter that Dr. Baker interviewed? Man, he had some interesting... Yeah, you wrote me and said that I should look at that, and I immediately went and watched it, and he was talking about basically all the corruption and how this mess got started, which we've talked about a lot, starting way back with, he even mentioned Ellen G. White, our famous Seventh-day Adventist from the mid-1800s, but he called her Ellen Gould. And I got a kick when Shawn Baker corrected him and he said Ellen White. Her middle name was, I think her maiden name was Gould and her married name was White. Her name is Ellen Gould White. And he mentioned John Harvey Kellogg and right on up the line. But he had some angles on this stuff from an economic point of view, David, that I knew existed, but I didn't realize anybody had researched it. And he got talking about some other simple facts that I've heard from Nina Teicholz and Gary Taubes about where the 6 to 11 servings of healthy whole grains came from in the food pyramid. And the story of that is that the United States, the USDA, had, at the time we were running low on grain, so they created all these incentives for farmers to raise all this grain. And what happened was, before too long, we ended up with a huge surplus of grain. So the USDA decided that the way to sell all this grain was to tell the people that it was good for them and like double or triple what they were going to recommend, the 3 or 4 helpings of grains, to 6 to 11. And it's those type of arbitrary decisions for no scientific reason whatsoever that ended up creating this ridiculous food pyramid that then opened up the opportunity for profiteers to supply this stuff. So the thought that, and another point that he made was that the thought that it was basically a bunch of men smoking cigars in a dark room somewhere, a big conspiracy, it was just one after another of random opportunistic acts strung together. And I think the biggest and most dangerous one of those was the low-fat recommendation that came out of Ansel Keys' work, because when the cookie manufacturers like Nabisco and the cracker people and all the other people noticed that sugar's a hell of a lot cheaper than butter, they can make the same baked goods for half the cost, and then because they were low fat and they could put the word healthy, heart healthy on them, they could sell them for more money. So they obviously any businessman would jump on that. I don't think they didn't have an evil intent, because they didn't know how bad it was until they got ankle deep or knee deep in it. And by the time they found out they were killing people, they were making too much money and they weren't going to change. And they started making people sick, and diabetes started rising, and heart disease started rising, and then along come the drug companies. And they learned real quick that there's more money in treating disease than there is in curing disease. You cure a disease, your customer is gone. They don't need your drug anymore. But you make sure that they stay sick, and they're locked into you for that treatment for the rest of their natural life. And that's why diabetes is such a profitable disease. And they keep doing that. And they keep doing it with every new chronic condition that pops up. And this Ozempic GLP-1 agonist weight loss injection nonsense right now, I think has the potential, and I'm not a rocket scientist or a doctor, but I understand the chemistry of what it does. I think the potential for disastrous harm from this is right up there with thalidomide and some of the other lovely things that the pharmaceutical industry has brought us. I did notice, I saw an ad today, and I forget exactly, it was from Moderna. They were advertising like you would advertise for a vacation almost. They had happy people doing this and that. It reminded me of a Coca-Cola commercial. They were all playing sports, all these happy people, and it turns out it was an ad for a COVID shot. I had never heard of this. And the name of what they're advertising, and God, I gotta look this up because I don't want to get it wrong. So it's a Moderna. Bear with me. The name of this drug. You got it. You got to see this. Hold on. Do any of you know what this is yet? Do any of you know? It's called Spike Vax. Spike Vax, right there. Spike Vax by Moderna. An mRNA COVID-19 vaccine. Tell your health care professional or stop by your local pharmacy to ask about Spike Vax. Spike Vax information. My God, important safety. Who should not? I mean, they're paying big money to advertise this stuff on the morning news. And they named it Spike Vax. Am I the only one that thinks that's a really bad name for a COVID vaccine? Oh, man. I actually had to laugh at that one. That was the funniest part of the morning news. So what are we talking about here? Question: what do you think of the young writer? That's where we left off. David, I thought that was a terrific interview. I don't think it's going anywhere. I don't think anybody's going to hear much about it. I think that it will not get any publicity anywhere where any meaningful number of people will understand what he's talking about. Because most people who have these problems don't even know that they're problems. They think this is normal. That's how it works. This is normal. This is what people do. This is what people eat. People eat pizza and ice cream, and they eat birthday cakes, and they eat all that stuff. And everybody knows you don't want to eat fat or red meat because, everybody knows that kills you. And you know how I feel about that saying, everybody knows. That ranks right up there with, what the American people want. When those words come out of anybody's mouth, I run the other way. That's pure marketing. Jake F., I use seasoning sometimes. DS111, only drink 1 ounce. We're talking about coffee. What about using Kinder seasoning? I use Swamp Ninja. I use the Kinder seasoning on my chicken wings. And that's about all I use it on anymore. I don't use it on beef anymore. It's garlic pepper. The one I use is the one called The Blend by Kinder. Sam's Club has it. You'd think that I own stock in Sam's Club, but I don't. It has salt, pepper, and garlic in it, but it's a good mixture. And I use a little bit of it. And obviously, it's not hurting me. I've never professed that you have to be a militant carnivore and worry about one molecule of something. Not after I had 70-something years of, God, I wonder how many 55-gallon drums of seed oils I actually put through my body in my first 75 years of life to worry about a couple of molecules of it seasoning a pan. I can't worry about that stuff. None of us is going to live forever. I don't care what we do. All these people today keep talking about life extension and life extension. And you can extend your life a little bit, but we're all dying. And who would want to live forever anyway? I don't know, not me. Unless they figure out a way to upload our brains to the Matrix and build us a robot body, I don't even know if I'd want to live like that. Just think of the crap that'd be going on in that world down the road. based on the direction we're headed right now. Talk about dystopia. Even the guys that make these movies haven't dreamed up this stuff. Sandra McDonald likes Dijon mustard. Randy K, I like that shirt. Got to get it. Be my guest, Randy. I appreciate the fact that you like my shirts. And Randy and Sandra and Charlotte Rush are all members of my community. I don't see a lot of you people jumping to join tonight. That's okay, but I hope you consider it, because I want to get to meet some of you. Andrea, oxalates in chocolate. Yep, chocolate is very high in oxalates. That's how I got my kidney stones, I'm convinced. Eating chocolate and eating almonds. I wasn't much for spinach, but spinach is right up there. So, and those are superfoods. They tell you they're superfoods. And berries. That's the berries are what triggered my addiction every time. I tried to do it right. I tried to eat only the foods they said were very low carb and with fruit, but there's that sugar. It's got sugar in it. If it's got sugar in it, I can't do it. Where did I leave off here? I'm trying to keep up, guys. I hope it's okay. I read about that study. Shocked. Richard Lee says, but doctors used to promote smoking too. Oh yeah, they used to have to go, and I used to go see my doctor. He'd be a fat guy with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth right while he was doing my examination. But we didn't think about things like that when we were young. And, you get to see enough of this stuff, and again, you normalize it. And even politically, they're trying to normalize it with this big is beautiful. And if you've ever seen some of the TikTok stuff that Shawn Baker puts out with these, they call them fat activists. I don't know. I mean, I understand people will do anything for money, but they're killing themselves. Yeah, Paul, Harvard really discredited himself on this one with the diabetes caused by red meat. And yet, you still heard about it on CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC. They don't dare go against the hand that feeds them. Somebody is paying them to run all these food and drug advertisements. They're endowing these universities, these food companies, and that's just how deep-seated and corrupt our system is. And there's nothing you can do about it. So I've never felt like a revolutionary, but I feel like a revolutionary. Honestly, I feel like I'm a revolutionary, trying to fight the system, and I don't want to do that. I just want to be able to get meat. But what they're doing is I think that if they can control the food supply, they control the people. If they can control the reaction to diseases like they did with COVID, they control the people, and they can use all their enforcement powers. And they're capable of it. How do what are we going to do? Fight the U.S. military? I'm going to fight the SWAT teams. Little old 76-year-old Mitch is going to stand up against, stormtroopers. You can't. You just can't. Sometimes I think that maybe the smartest thing for me to do would be stop making noise about it. Stop attracting any attention to myself. I lived like that for 10 years. But I'm not ready for that to do that yet, so we're still going to keep forward. Sandra, sorry to hear that. David, yeah, the thing he said about the memo on don't eat eggs, they're not healthy, and how it was used to stop the demand on eggs and drop the price. Yeah, everything is manipulated. Everything. It's crazy. You can't believe a thing you hear through any normal media channels or news outlets. You have to go to the internet. You have to go to these people that they keep trying to cancel. And the more they want to cancel somebody, the more credible they probably are. I saw an interview It's on YouTube today. Joe Rogan just interviewed Elon Musk about what was going on at Twitter, and that's when he bought it. And that is something that everybody needs to hear. As far as Elon Musk was concerned, Twitter was actually just destroying civilization as we know it, and not for the reasons you might think, but because of the reach they had. And basically, who was camped out, the type of people that lived in the vicinity of where their headquarters were, which is San Francisco. So what was basically happening is that that little message from the most liberal, crazy bunch of people, the Berkeley, San Francisco people, was being put out by this monstrous machine, technology machine called Twitter, and it was spreading to all corners of the world, and that's where all this woke stuff came from. And Facebook's doing it, and Google's doing it, but at least Elon Musk kind of put a muzzle on Twitter a little bit. It's scary stuff. It's just scary stuff. DS111 says, don't they fatten swine with grains? Doesn't sound like a health food to me. Well, you got to think about it this way. That would be your first inclination to think that way. My answer to that is, by the time the pig fat gets to you, it's not grain anymore. The pig did with the grain just what the human does with the grain, and that was turn it immediately into fat. And a triglyceride is a triglyceride wherever it came from. So the lard on the bacon, whether that pig was grain-fed, because pigs are monogastric and omnivores, and they'll eat anything from garbage to people. Pigs will eat people. Gangsters used to feed bodies to the pigs. Doesn't matter. By the time, that's why there's no vegetables inside of a cow, even though that's all they eat is vegetables. By the time all the processing inside their bodies are done by their biochemistry, by the bacteria in their gut that ferments the stuff and turns it into fatty acids, what's left when you stick your knife and fork in it doesn't resemble any of the original raw materials that it was built out of. And the same is true for human beings. If you find a fat person and cut them open, you're not going to find grain inside of them. You'll find the fat. The fat was made by the grain. Judy D, thank you so much. Appreciate that little super chat. Didn't see any question involved. If you tried to ask me a question, Judy, and somehow, I know that happens with those things sometimes. You have to put the question in before you hit the $sign, I think. Just put your question in the regular chat, and I'll answer it for you. Okay. So David, that's the kind of stuff that I think it's very important for us to know. I think that knowing just how wrong the advice is from everybody else and how phony all of these official sounding studies are, just knowing that for sure, and having other people and having guys like me and Ken Berry and Shawn Baker, Anthony Chaffee. Not that I put myself in their league, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Education, knowing how right we are. And we've got and they claim, well, you don't have any studies. I have a study. I'm an N of 1. I did a study on myself. I have results. I also know where to go and find 1,000 other people that have done those studies on themselves. And those studies are as valuable as anything. In fact, they're more valuable because there's no unknowns in those N of 1. And N is the number in a study that tells you the size, the subject size of the study. Okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? If you do a study of 1,000 people, then it's N equals 1,000. So N of 1 means a study you do on yourself. I know that it works. I don't need some drug company to pay for a big study where they ask people what they ate on questionnaires and consider a McDonald's hamburgers with French fries and a chocolate shake. They consider that as meat because that's how they do it. And then they say the meat is no good for you. So this person that eats a McDonald's hamburger or supersized fries and a 16-ounce chocolate milkshake gets diabetes. And because there was a eighth of a pound of hamburger patty in there in that monstrous swill of sugar and starch, and he gets sick, that was meat because it came from McDonald's. Well, no wonder the results they get out of these things are so stupid. Spike protein shots. Yes, Andre. And they even brag about mRNA. And for anybody that understands what messenger RNA does, that should be enough to scare the crap out of you. I don't know if sometime it warrants a little biology lesson. But in a nutshell, the way proteins are made in the human body is a gene in your DNA. And a gene is all of the genetic instructions combined into a chunk that code for a protein. There are 25,000 different proteins in the human body that are coded for in our DNA. So every protein is made up of amino acids. And that's why they talk about you have to get all of the amino acids when you eat, because if you don't get all the amino acids into your body, then the amino acids that are used to build the proteins based on the code that's written in our DNA, we're going to be short some building materials. And that's basically the definition of what malnourished means. Hey, we ran out of tryptophan here. How are we going to build this protein that we need to make your muscles move like this, you know? So to make a protein from a gene, the gene has to be what they call transcribed. It has to be read. And it's read by molecular machines that just go right down the chain like a computer tape. And they read the different combinations of the 4 bases that make the crosshatches of the DNA going around, and they create a single-stranded RNA which is identical to the DNA they just read out of the chromosome. So to get the epigenetics set up and get the chromosome out and open it up, this little machine goes along it, reads maybe 50,000 instructions in this one gene to create this one particular protein, one of 25,000, using just 20 different amino acids. And that's all done in the nucleus of the cell. So now you've got this long single strand, which is like half of a DNA helix, and that's RNA. It's not deoxyribonucleic acid, it's just ribonucleic acid, RNA. And the M that they stick in front of it means messenger. And the messenger RNA's job is to travel out of the nucleus of the cell into the main area where the cytoplasm is. And there's an enzyme in there, a fabulously complicated organic machine called a ribosome, which clamps around this messenger RNA, and it's responsible for building that protein molecule one amino acid at a time, and it grabs the amino acids out of the cytoplasm that are called for by the instructions. Now, I don't know. This is much easier to understand if you see a picture of it, and I'm going to have to do that with you guys sometimes. It's the most fascinating thing you've ever seen. But what is mRNA? It is the instructions that come out of our cell nucleus that tells our cellular machinery how to build a protein. And they're fooling with that. They're altering that set of instructions. That scares the hell out of me. It just scares the hell out of me. But they talk about it, oh, mRNA, people, nobody knows what that means. Nobody knows the ramifications. If one amino acid happens to be out of place, the whole protein is somewhat different. We got Franken proteins going on. Who knows what damage, who knows what of the thousands of different systems we have in our bodies that might disrupt. Anyway, I don't think they should be fooling with that. Especially not without, as fast as they develop these things for COVID, which is why I will never take a COVID vaccine, period. I'm not telling anybody what to do, but for me, sorry, no more jabs. I had one, and the good news was the one I had was the Johnson & Johnson, which was not a spike protein. It was not an mRNA. It was more like a flu shot type of effort. What it did was it created introduced it to the immune system so the body could create an immune response to it. Okay, enough medicine and chemistry. I know that makes people's eyes glaze over. Damn, I wish I minded back for the Nabisco snack walk. Oh, God. You and me both, Florida. I bought into all this stuff. Didn't we all? Oh, shit. I can eat that stuff because it doesn't have fat in it and I won't get fat. Well, that turned out to be a little fib, didn't it? We all got fat and became a little more cynical. Snackwells. Yeah, they finally got rid of it. Well, I also heard from somebody somewhere that beef consumption maybe it was this guy, David, beef consumption was up, and they're worrying about it. And that's great news. I think more and more people are getting the message. I think that all of this harping and all of this work that we're doing here on YouTube, talking about carnivore, I think that the word is getting out. It's not mainstream yet, but I think it's having an effect, and I think that hopefully, as the demand goes up, the supply will go up. That's just normal economics, and I'm just hoping that I get to see that here before too long, because I don't want to have to worry about having to go out and score some meat like you had to score toilet paper a couple of years ago. Remember that stuff? Sandra, when my buddy was in the hospital, Julia, sadly, folks are blind even when the success is obvious. Yeah, it is. It's very, very sad when you try to help somebody. You found the holy grail of health. There's no doubt about it. I got news for you. If carnivore was so bad for your health, you'd see 100 plus videos every day from vegans and other people chronicling the death or heart disease of somebody who was carnivore. Like what they did with Atkins when he died. Right away, everybody, now there's two stories that came out, and I still don't know which one I believe. One of them was he slipped on the ice and hit his head and died from that. The other one was he had heart disease. But either one is plausible. I could die from heart disease. And it's not carnivore's fault. It's the fault of a lifetime of eating crap that wasn't good for me. And that crap did its damage. I don't think it did a lot of damage in me, but because I've never had I've had I haven't had a CAC score, but I have had ultrasounds of all my coronary arteries. When I hit my head, I had that, and I have had ultrasounds of my heart and all that, and I don't have any, nobody could detect any buildup anywhere. Probably because most of my life I tried to be low carb with intermediate periods of binging and gaining 50 pounds, eating sugar. But just because what'll happen, and it's bound to happen, it can't not happen. I mean, with the numbers that we have, somebody is going to be on their deathbed already, decide they want to go carnivore, take one bite of that first steak and keel over dead, and the headlines in the New York Times tomorrow morning will be, the carnivore diet kills people. That's how it works. That's how propaganda and the news people work. No truth to any of it. Take completely out of context. So maybe it's a better idea we don't tell 90-year-olds to start carnivore, because they're going to die, most of them, and they're going to blame it on carnivore. The people that want meat gone. That's another whole thing that I just don't understand, is why they're trying to blame everything on the poor cows. Think about the amount over when the planet had herds of huge animals, back in the old days. The planet's still here. We survived. We survived that. And I mean, R. Coleman, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. I say sir, you might be a woman. I don't know what the R means. You look like, I see a little picture of you there. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Let me see. I think I had, wow, we've been at this for an hour. This is great. Hope you guys are having a good time. I'm having a good time. When I did have an announcement. This is what YouTube tells all of us creators. I'm a creator. Content creator. That's what entertainment has become. It's not entertainment, it's content. On November 1st, tomorrow, they have taken the control of where the advertising is placed on our videos. And I told you this before, but I just want to make sure everybody hears it. They've taken the ability for us to click that button that says allow the user to skip the ad. And you all know when these ads come up in front, a button shows up after about 5 seconds that says skip the ad. Well, that's gone away. It's out of our control. YouTube told us that it's a benefit to us because it'll force our viewers to watch a whole ad, and we'll get more ad revenue. And my answer to them was, yeah, half my users are going to click away before they even get to the video because they don't want to watch the stupid ads. So they say that, in their tests, that's not going to happen. I don't know. All I know is that I don't like it. And I don't like advertising so bad that I don't subscribe to any cable TV. I get all my entertainment through the internet. I'm one of the original cord cutters. And if anything has an ad that pops up that I see, I won't watch it. I use Amazon Prime. I can't watch Netflix anymore. Their stuff has turned into such crap that I can't stomach it. But I do have Amazon Prime. I watch YouTube. I have a Premier membership in YouTube, which costs me, I don't know, $13, $14 a month, where I don't have to watch any ads. and they have a ton of music, like Spotify or some of those other services. YouTube, between YouTube and Amazon, I can get any music on the planet for my earbuds and everything. So for basically 14, 15 bucks a month, I've got all the entertainment that I need with no ads. And that's actually for me, that's still a bargain, even though they keep raising it, because I just don't have to sit there and watch the ads, especially the ones that come, the mid-roll ones that, you're right in the middle of watching a long video and boom, up comes an ad. And I still love, I just love when they run the Beyond Meat and Impossible Burger ads on my channel. Somebody's watching my channel to get information on carnivore and eating meat, and they see a phony soy-based meat commercial. I don't think those ads are going to do real well for them on my channel, but I thought that was a very ironic. God, that's a cold coffee. So I did want to tell you about that. So I'm sorry if you watch one of my videos tomorrow and you got to sit through a 30-second ad. I can't do anything about it. I hope you'll still stick around. I talked about the candy prices. Talked about our first private community subscriber type live stream last week. Asked you to send me pictures wearing my t-shirts. And there was one other thing that I did. I got a really terrific email from Jan Rios chronicling her story of trying to buy a turkey for this Thanksgiving. And I won't get into the whole thing now, but basically every turkey was so filled with sugar, seed oils, all kinds of ridiculous stuff that they didn't used to put in these birds, that the only turkey she found that was actually didn't have any sugar or any of that other crap in it was a butterball. And she said in her email that, and she always thought that they called it butterball because they injected it with butter. Turns out they don't. And the thrust of the whole email was that, and she basically asked me to tell my viewers, or maybe I would like to make a video about it. Maybe we need to spend some time learning how to read these stupid labels, where to find what they're trying to hide, learn about all the tricks that they have, especially in how they name things, what the 50 or 60 different names for sugar are. They do have 50 to 60 names: maltodextrin, raw cane juice, raw beet juice. There's no end. It's all sugar. You're going to be deceived everywhere you turn. And so many people who think they're doing the right thing and working hard at it, have their hopes up high, get sabotaged by evil companies that try to deceive and sell their addictive crap labeled as something else. We need to learn this stuff, and we need to learn what to look for, because so many of these people that go on to so many of these live streams with their medical questions, like Ken Berry's live streams, Anthony Chaffee's live streams, you see so many of them that have hit a stall. Something's not working right. I swear, they say, not eating anything I shouldn't. And if you could go into their house and go into their pantry and grab up the stuff they're eating and analyze the labels, you'd find out that what they're eating is why they're not succeeding on the diet, which is why the beef, salt, and water crowd stands the best shot at this. And that's, with a few exceptions of some other eggs and bacon and occasional chicken, I gave up keto because pretty much everything I tried to make fit in keto turned out to contain a lot more of whatever I thought was in it. Caused me to binge, caused me to have cravings, especially the blueberries. I was using stevia as a sweetener. And I went to Sam's Club, and they had a box full of these little, like, restaurant packages, and it was called Stevia in the Raw. Any of you ever seen Stevia in the Raw? I figure it's stevia. I don't look at the... And then I hear somebody on a YouTube video talking about stevia in the raw. They said it contained, and so I looked at the label, and it's got maltodextrin in it. It's sugar. So I buy a year's supply of this stuff in one of those big boxes. I threw it away. I thought it was stevia. So then I went and I got the bottle of liquid stevia where you put like 5 or 6 drops, and I finally decided I didn't need that either. So weaned myself off of that. But anything we try to do, and you know, you've heard me, you've all heard me go off on this business about trying to make keto and carnivore versions of foods we're addicted to. That's akin to drinking non-alcoholic beer. I mean, you got a brown bottle. It's filled with something that looks like beer. They put chemicals in it to make it taste like beer. It's carbonated, it fizzes. You drink it because in places where everybody else is around you drinking, and you're basically pretending that you're drinking beer. You're going through the motions. You're getting a cold one. You're unscrewing the cap or popping the tab. Only thing missing is the alcohol. The habit, the motions, the cold beer, the friends standing around drinking, all of that stuff is part of what the addiction is. It's not just the chemical that you've taken out. And the addiction to so many of these foods, like pizza, is an addiction to the occasion where you eat pizza and the smell of it and all the other stuff that still triggers so many of they call it the cephalic phase response in your body and gives you that jolt of insulin because your brain doesn't know that pizza you're going to stuff in your face is a low carb pizza. Your conscious mind may know that, but all your senses and automatic machinery that run your body, when they get the cues and the triggers, when they get the aromas and the smells, that's why you can gain weight walking by a bakery. Because even though you didn't put that sugar in your body preloaded insulin because it thought it was coming. And 2 things bad happen when that happens. Number 1, your insulin goes way up, and most of us have been at this long enough and heard enough speeches about all the bad things that high insulin does. And when you got a bloodstream full of high insulin and the sugar spike doesn't come, that insulin will start taking what blood sugar is in your bloodstream and cramming it into your cells, which will plunge you into hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, where you'll all of a sudden feel like you're going to pass out. And the only quick cure for that is to eat sugar. So you're initiating a cascade of biochemical events in your body and then not giving it the sugar and then suffering the consequences because you didn't give it the sugar that it had prepared for. And yet, when you look out on the internet, half of the videos you see in the keto community and carnivore community are on how to make these imitation foods so that we don't have to feel like we've changed anything. Well, that doesn't work. And these people, if you check with them a few years later, most of them have failed. They've gone off of it, except the real carnivores who have actually changed something and got rid of not only the habit, or not only the food, but gotten rid of the habit too. And when you get rid of the habit, you don't do it anymore. When you get rid of the food, your physiology changes. And your body doesn't send you the cues anymore that it needs this stuff. And that happens when you get 100% of everything you need from the food you eat. And carnivore is the only diet that does that. So you gotta, what's right for you as an individual or me, that depends on the individual. It depends on how many problems you have. If you're not a sugar addict and could care less, you can do pretty much anything you want because you don't have the cravings. You're not addicted to it. But once you're an addict, it's out of your hands. You do not have the control. And that's evident with alcohol. I mean, I could drink a mixed drink or a beer or something. Never care for it if I ever had another. I don't like it. I would have to drink enough of it for my body to become addicted to it. And then I probably couldn't live without it like I am with sugar. Drug addicts are the same way. You ever met a cocaine addict that never tried cocaine? How could you be addicted to cocaine if you never put it in your body? Well, I was like that with alcohol. I never liked it. So, yeah, Bags Packed Family down there says it's a good analogy to compare alcoholism to addiction. Same thing, sugar addiction. A lot of people say sugar addiction is harder to shake than alcoholism. And they say, well, you have to eat, you need food. Well, sugar is really not food. There's no nutrition in it. It's glucose, it's energy, but it's not nutritious. It has no amino acids, has no building materials, has no vitamins, has no minerals, has nothing in it except sugar. And that's not food. That is emergency, famine type survival food. When all else fails, it'll keep you going at a cost to your health because it's toxic. And Judy says sugar triggers other addictions, in my honest opinion. Yeah, I believe it. And it is. It's like crack. Julia says it's like crack. And it's the hardest thing about kicking the sugar and carb addiction is society, is that they don't consider it an addiction. You tell people that sugar is an addiction. No, it isn't. That's food. We need food. We don't need alcohol. We don't need cigarettes. We don't need drugs. Those are addictions. But we have to eat food. We'd die if we didn't eat food. So we have to eat sugar because everybody knows that red meat and fat are going to kill you. And you come back. Circular logic. Always come around to that. Michael Blade, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. So it is an addiction. It's a strong addiction, and we're played. We're played like puppets. And one of the things that makes it so hard to kick is everywhere you turn, The temptation is there. It's in your face. It's in your face on TV. It's in your face on billboards. It's in your face walking down the street, seeing people eating restaurants. People are eating that shit everywhere, and it's always in our face. And nobody is talking about forming Carboholics Anonymous with a 12-step program where you have to stand up in front of all the people and give a speech. Hi, I'm Mitch, and I'm a carboholic. And then tell the sad story of your life and how you came to weigh 400 pounds and you have diabetes and you have all these different diseases. Because Julia says they have, is that a C? OA. What does OA mean? Yeah, we don't have that because it's not considered. They consider alcoholism a disease. It's not a disease, it's an addiction. It causes disease. But they don't, and they won't ever be allowed to do that. There's too much money in it. There's just too much money in it. I find it fascinating mortality is lower for periodic starving than for a vegan diet. Well, the toxins that are in the plants cause damage. They cause harm. They're anti-nutrients. You could eat the best meal in the world. And if you eat a side dish of legumes and some other plants, none of that nutrition that you ate will ever get in, will ever be absorbed in your small intestines. These anti-nutrient chemicals will tie up the places that were supposed to absorb the nutrients. Plants don't. Oh, OA is Overeaters Anonymous. It's interesting. I never heard of that. They're not doing a lot of advertising in my neighborhood, but cool. I cannot eat beans, they'll kill me. A lot of people are deathly, and that's what's the interesting thing I tell people is I said, you ever heard of anybody with a meat allergy? Yeah, if you get, the Lone Star tick bites you, you get a reaction to meat that lasts 6 to 9 months. But as far as an allergy goes, you're not going to find a human being allergic to a steak. But there are allergies to almost all plants in some areas. The only thing in animal products that humans develop an allergy for is basically, lactose intolerance, but that's sugar. That's sugar, and we're not supposed to be drinking that once we get to 5 or 6 years old anyway. I love it when Ken Berry says, milk is for babies. Yeah. So, wow. We're going to do this about an hour and a half tonight. I got 100 people. God, hi guys. I can't believe I'm talking to 100 people. It'd probably be scary if I could actually see you all out there. I just hope nobody's watching me that doesn't like me. Look at the chat a little more. Overeaters Anonymous. Yes, John, coffee without sugar. I do intermittent fasting. Yeah, Judy says, Jake, yep, I do intermittent fasting. It's so freeing. If you're carnivore, and I know I a live stream ago or maybe two, I asked you in to put in the chat whether you were keto or carnivore, and if you were, how long. And most of you were carnivores. And I don't really attract a lot of the keto types. I could probably have 100,000 subscribers today if I catered to the keto people, but I think there's problems with that, so I make them mad and they go away. So most of the people that I have that are watching me are people like me, hardcore stone sugar addicts that finally figured out you can't eat sugar at all or you'll fail. And this is, the longest in my entire life by 5 times the length that I have ever sustained weight loss. And I'm confident that I will sustain it for the rest of my life because I have no temptations. Whereas every other diet I had, when I finally lost the weight, I couldn't get to that reward fast enough. Okay, God, I got to my goal weight, man. Where's the ice cream? I've been waiting so long for the ice cream and the cake and the... Well, down I went, and then boom, right back up again. I've never had those. I've never had not only the urges, but I've never even had the thoughts of it. So what this did to me, mentally and physically, changed me profoundly. And it took away any cravings, any thoughts that of ever doing that. And I have gone longer. The longest I ever went staying thin was a couple of months. I've basically a year and 3 months now, and I love this. I love the food that I eat. And we were the comment was, it's freeing, and I use that term a lot, food freedom. My life doesn't revolve around food anymore, or eating at all. It's like something I do, and I enjoy it immensely, but it doesn't occupy my thoughts at all. I never get weak hungry like we used to when we were running on sugar and on that 2-hour roller coaster cycle. I hear people talking. I haven't eaten, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Well, geez, I haven't eaten since 8 o'clock in the morning, man. I need to get something because I'm starving to death. If I didn't eat for 2 days, I would never feel, and I've done that. I've done these fasts, not even on purpose. I just wasn't convenient for me, especially it happened to me when I went over to that keto meeting in Orlando. They didn't have anything that I wanted to eat over there. I knew I was gonna go home anyway after it was over, so I just didn't eat anything all day. And it got to be like 6 o'clock, and I headed home. I got home about 8 o'clock, and I said, I don't need any food. I'll just eat tomorrow. Got up the next day, got back in my car, went back over there. Never even thought of food. I didn't bring any with me, nothing. Stayed there the next day. I still hadn't eaten anything. It was that night that I finally ate. I had gone over 48 hours without even thinking about food, and I still wasn't that hungry. And that's the way it's supposed to be if you're not eating sugar. You have to be on I think, almost a zero carb diet for your body to get to that state. But it does work. And the fact that it worked, and the fact that I was so awestruck by the fact that it worked, and I still can't believe it, is why I wanted to use myself as an example, even at my age, for a lot of people that are getting older, that if I'm 76 and it worked for me, and I'm no different than anybody else, I have the same weaknesses and the same biology, it just works. So I don't care if you're 80, it does work. And it's not hard to do. It's the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. Can't eat a handful of berries. Yeah, that was my downfall. Friggin' blueberries. And I was convinced that I actually could control myself. The day you finally say to yourself, I have no control. I don't know who's in charge here, but it certainly isn't me. And that's when I've talked about what really happens when your animal brain takes over your conscious mind and turns it off so it can get what it wants. And you're just an actor, a dumb actor in the whole play until you wake up afterwards in time to be ashamed of yourself and utter those famous words, "What the hell was I thinking?" Well, you weren't thinking. Your subconscious mind was getting what it wanted from you. It was acting instinctually like it does with animals. It didn't talk to you or reason with you or bargain with you or negotiate with you. It said, you know what, get out of my way, and it shuts off your frontal lobe. And they see that. That's the beautiful thing. They can see that on PET scans. And they've done so much research now that it's a fact. And it all comes from ancient survival mechanisms. It's the same thing as the fight or flight response. Same thing that causes tunnel vision. When our real brain wants something, it gets it. It doesn't have to reason with the new guy on the block, which is, our layer of consciousness over the top of it. And all we can do, we can't even control our real brain, because you can't not eat the stuff. You rationalize the dumbest reasons why it will be okay. And you make the promises that this is going to be the last time, I promise. We've all done that. And if we're honest with ourselves and we look back at what we've done, we realize that we were stupid. Our rational thinking stopped. And we started acting purely on instinct. I found myself driving to the all-night drugstore at 3 o'clock in the morning to buy a half a gallon of ice cream. And the whole time I was driving, I would say to myself, what are you doing? Why are you driving to the drugstore? Turn around and go home. And I buy the half a gallon of ice cream. And it wasn't until I got through 3/4 of that animal inside of me finally said, all right, I had enough ice cream for now. And I got them thinking again. And what's the first thing I thought is, why the hell? What was I thinking? Why the hell did I wake up, get out of bed, get dressed, get in my car, drive 3 miles to the drugstore, get a half a gallon of ice cream, bring it home, eat 3/4 of it before I woke up? And it took me years to figure out the mechanics of that. And I did figure it out. And now I understand why that happens. And I also understand, or understanding why it happens also makes me believe that that's why the title of my book was Taming the Beast Within. That's exactly what it means. We all live with this. The things that we're capable of as animals, as human beings, that come out under certain circumstances, we don't believe. The strength we can achieve at certain times. The evil, bad things that we can do under certain conditions. And the way we can rationalize anything. It's how, like, a soldier can rationalize killing people, because it's his job. And he went to war. No guilt. Why should I feel guilty about that? I have chapters about that in my book too. But that's the way our brain works. And understanding that is one of the things that finally convinced me that this is the only way to do it. That this carnivore stuff is the only way to do it. Why the longer I go, the more people I get watching me. This is great. Let me take a look at the chat. I used to eat corn sugar. What is that? Altiora Gym. Is that a person or a place? John Boston, I'm down 8 kilograms in 2 months. Never been hungry. Most 90% of my addictions, and I sleep well. Way to go. Way to go. James Doherty, down 85 pounds and off all his meds. Way to go. Way to go. Victory, the biggest lies and fibs are to ourselves. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And we all make ourselves promises that there's no way we could ever keep these promises. It's impossible. So, like any other addiction, especially alcohol or drugs, the first step is you have to admit to yourself you have the addiction. And and you have to admit that it's a real thing. And the easy the easy things that you think you can do don't work. So you have to learn, and learning why this happens, I've always found, that makes it real. There's no magic. If you think, well, it just happens by magic, you're not going to believe it. But when you really learn what's going on and why you find yourself at 3 o'clock in the morning in a Walgreens buying ice cream, and you understand how it happens and why it happens, and not only that, but where it came from. What evolutionary survival things eventually turned into me going to buy ice cream at 3 o'clock in the morning, because it all came from somewhere. Everything we do, every behavior, every activity, every bit of our body chemistry didn't just appear for no reason. It survived nature's test, survival of the fittest. It was a survival tool at some point. And knowing that, I don't get a lot of traction on in my videos when I talk about this stuff. People are more interested in just knowing the how-to. What do I have to do? How do I have to do it? Other than the why should I do it. But I still like to talk about that, because that's what really helped me and got me convinced that this is absolutely the only way to ever save your life in this world, in this society of ours. Otherwise, you're going to be a sick, fat diabetic getting your feet amputated. And I know so many of those people. And it's sad. And the saddest thing is, I can help them, but I'm the crazy one. Because everybody knows that eating all that fat and meat is going to kill you. Meanwhile, I'm out there doing 100 push-ups a day. I get Walmart, okay, I feel lucky I have meat shops all around me. Yeah, I got Sam's Club, I got Aldi's and Publix. So you're all talking about powerless over blueberries. Yeah, there's something about blueberries. A 3-pound bag of frozen blueberries stands no chance when I used to go to get one little custard cup full, and that was all I was going to eat. Nope, going to get that one little cup. Seal up that Ziploc bag that it comes in. I'm going to put it away in the freezer. I'm strong. I'm in control. I'm on a keto diet. I'm allowed to have these 15 grams of carbs or 10 grams of carbs. And half an hour later, the 3-pound bag is completely gone. And I'm standing there saying, what was I thinking? How many of you have said that to yourselves? Found yourself in a situation, you go, what the hell was I thinking? Well, the answer to that question, universally, 100% of the time, is you weren't thinking. That was the problem. You weren't thinking anything. Oh, yeah. Everybody knows. Yeah, everybody knows. Well, all right, guys. It's been an hour and 40 minutes. I want to save what's left of my voice. I do have 7 o'clock on Thursday. Private community. There's nothing snooty about it. There's nothing special about it. It's just something for people that are kind enough to help support me and join and become a member of the channel. And we're going to have the second one of these. The first one went a lot better than I thought it would. So for those of you who are in green in the chat, I will see you guys on Thursday. For the rest of you, thanks so much for coming, guys. I did solo tonight. I like this better. And for the foreseeable future, I'm going to do it this way. Victory thinks I'm very cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. Not bad for an old fart, huh? Oh, I want to, speaking of old farts, let me just say one more thing. I'll get the music on so you guys can hear a little music while I'm talking. The way YouTube presents me with your comments that you put in these videos. If you comment on the video itself, I see it in what they call my YouTube studio, and it shows me comments that I have not responded to. Just lines them all up, page after page after page. Makes it very convenient for me to answer all your comments. If you reply to somebody else's comment, it nests it one layer in. I don't see those in my list of comments that I haven't responded to. I get an email that says, you have a comment. And the only way I can get to that comment is I have to click the reply button, which opens the video that comment is in. And then I have to, it presents it usually the second line down, but that takes a lot of time. And I get 50 to 100 of those a day. And what I'm trying to say is if you ever leave me a comment and it's in somebody's thread, if it's in the thread of another comment or your comment, there's a chance that I might not miss it. I try to get them all, but I might miss it. And don't feel like I ignored your comment. And if you even put the word fart, this is what brought this up, in that comment, it will not show up in my comments. It will be put in a separate place that they call held for review. And that's another thing I have to do. I have to go into the held to review section, and then I have to approve all these comments. And what gets you in a held for review is any even word as bad as fart, or any link. If you have a link to anything, a YouTube video, any link, they will not put it in the comments. So I get comments, Mitch, why did you remove my comment? I don't remove comments. YouTube puts them in so many different places, half the time I can't find them. So just want you to know, don't assume if you can't find your own comment in a video that it's something that I did to you. I don't do that. I have removed, in the entire time that I've been doing this channel, 4 or 5 comments from very obnoxious people. And that's it. I don't do that. So YouTube probably did. And then sometimes they get lost. I can never find them again. So don't feel bad. Just write your comment in again, and it'll probably work. So with that, one last bit of information. Thanks for coming, everybody. I enjoyed it. We'll see you again next Tuesday night, 8 o'clock. I like this time. And until then, not much of it left. But take the rest of the day off and eat meat.